Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2020 movie titled Run, Hide, Fight. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, we are introduced to Zoe Hull and her father, Todd, on a hunt. She aims for a buck that does not die immediately after being shot. The father and daughter have two options: wait for the animal to perish in agony or mercifully kill it. As Todd tries to explain what would be a better option, Zoe grabs a rock and slams it into the buck's head. Todd is astonished by her lack of concern for the animal. Todd understands that her peculiar behavior is a result of the trauma she experienced after her mother's death. Later, over breakfast, Zoe has a hallucination of chatting to her mother, something she does frequently. Her best friend, Lewis, comes to pick her up for school. On their journey, they are hounded by a car full of bullies from their school, who force their car off the road. While waiting for it to start, Zoe watches one of her classmates, Chris, placing an object in the center of the field. She finds that strange, but it is natural for someone like Chris, who is considered an outcast. Today is senior prank day at school. The senior students play various foolish tricks on the professors, which Zoe and Louis despise. Mrs. Jane, Zoe's chemistry teacher, sees her clear change in behavior following her mother's untimely death. She tries to talk to her about it, but is immediately ignored. Following that, Zoe discovers a prom proposal from Lewis in her locker. She never wanted to go to the prom and is afraid she will have to reject him. They meet at the cafeteria for lunch, but she avoids the subject. Lewis brings it up, explaining that he is asking her as a friend because he does not want them to be at home while the rest of the school is having fun. Zoe is plainly upset and excuses herself to use the restroom. At the same time, other harmless explosions are occurring throughout the city. The police, paramedics, and firefighters are all working to handle the situation. When Zoe enters the bathroom, she sees a bully named Anna hiding something above a vent. After the bully has left, she checks the vent but finds nothing. Back in the cafeteria, a van crashes through the glass door and hits a man. Chris, the man Zoe had seen earlier that morning, jumps out of the truck and shoots the injured man dead. 3 others accompany him. The group includes Anna, Chris's sister, Kip, the school's loser, and Tristan, the leader of the gang. They are the ones that set bombs all across town to distract the cops, and they are here to shoot up the place. They kill a few people right away to demonstrate their dominance and force the rest to remain silent. Zoe is leaving the bathroom when an injured woman rushes in and begs for help. Zoe panics, but cannot save her before she dies. She thinks something is very wrong and carefully steps outside to listen to the shooters talk. The commander, Tristan, informs the students that they are now hostages and must obey all of his commands. He recognizes a man in the crowd who used to bully him in the halls every day. Without the leader's permission, Chris kills the man dead. Although Tristan wanted to do the same thing, he advises Chris to remain calm and only fire the gun when permitted. Kip goes to the bathroom to see if everyone is out. Upon noticing this, Zoe swiftly climbs up the vent to avoid detection. She crawls through it, hoping to find the other exit. Meanwhile, Tristan requests that a female take out her phone and call someone she loves. She contacts her mother, explains the situation, and expresses her love for her. The mother on the other end vows to call the cops right away. After the call, Tristan informs everyone that the police have been notified, so they can avoid trying to phone them now. He even permits them to call their parents one final time before they die. The students perform as instructed and send a sad goodbye to their loved ones in case they do not return home. When Zoe is in the kitchen, the vent malfunctions, causing her to fall to the floor. The noise draws Chris in, where he searches for the intruder. The kitchen lady rushes out to help Zoe, who is hiding, and takes a bullet for her. Zoe is taken aback seeing her limp body laying on the floor, but she quickly recovers. Tristan then phones the school's receptionist and informs her about the deceased children. She does not trust him and promptly notifies the security guard and the principal. Zoe leaves the school through the kitchen's back entrance. She meets a group of students and notifies them of the situation inside. Following the call, Tristan directs the hostages to begin a live feed on any platform they choose. He wants to make a statement and inform the entire world about what he is doing. The stream commences, and he requests collaboration from all platforms, as he believes that banning the streams would lead to an increase in fatalities. As he introduces himself to the world, the principal and the security guard arrive. Instead of being terrified, Tristan welcomes them in and asks if they understand why he's doing all of this. The principal explains that he summoned Tristan to his office twice last week because of his poor grades and bad behavior. The principal described him as a useless man who would never amount to anything. Tristan, however, sees the shootout as more than just a few meetings. Society has abused and bullied this well-spoken and educated man. The principal tries to calm him down but is fatally shot in the process. The security guard, on the other hand, is free to leave. Lewis has the highest number of live watchers among the captives. As a result, Tristan assigns him to be the primary cameraman and moves him to the front. Meanwhile, Zoe visits each individual classroom to inform them of the situation. Some teachers chase her away, believing it is a hoax, but others trust her. Still, it will take a long time to educate them one by one. Zoe sounded the fire alarm so that everyone could get out on their own. However, Anna, who is in the electrical room, murders a guard and destroys all of the switches. This turns off the alarm, and everyone who had exited the classroom returns inside. The receptionist announces over the speakers that the school is on lockdown and encourages students to stay put. Just then, the first group of policemen arrives. Some channels have already picked up the news, but Tristan wants the live stream broadcast on national television. When Zoe eventually approaches the receptionist's desk, a bag of explosives detonates, killing everyone but her. The group had already planned the attack to conceal it from the kids, but the explosion occurred slightly later than expected. Zoe has a hallucination of her mother talking to her and telling her that the situation is crazy. Anna appears unexpectedly, so she pretends to be dead. After she walks away, Zoe bangs on a classroom door to keep others informed. However, Anna hears her and investigates the sounds. As Zoe tries to escape, a bullet pierces her leg. The girls wind themselves up in the teacher's room, which is filled with balloons that the students set up as a prank. Zoe hides in the room and attacks Anna when she is weak. After some effort, she manages to shoot her dead. The cops learn about Tristan's family background and residence. A police officer arrives at his house to discover his mother dead on the sofa. She seemed to have been there for several days now. It seems clear that Tristan killed her. Meanwhile, at school, Tristan delegated responsibility to Chris and went to a Spanish lesson. The teacher pleads with him to stop, but he forces her to remove her top. She must reluctantly stand in front of the camera while thousands of people watch her live stream. Then Todd hears about the incident and hurries to the school in his pickup. Several parents, police, and reporters have gathered outside. Chris begins hearing voices in his head, which is the primary reason he joined Tristan on the expedition. The voices cause him to fire at the police outside. Tristan notices the ruckus and returns to the cafeteria, accompanied by the Spanish teacher and her students. Kip runs into Zoe and follows her, firing at her. They wind up in a slippery corridor, where Zoe assaults him with a fire extinguisher and knocks him unconscious. She then leads him inside the auditorium and shackles him to a seat. Her mother reappears and discusses how Zoe is preventing her from really dying because she refuses to let go. When Kip wakes up, he notices her talking to herself and immediately assumes she is like him. Zoe asks why he became involved in the incident. The entire middle school assembly watched as he stripped naked. Since then, people have laughed behind his back. Zoe wonders if he ever assumed that the people giggling were simply joyful. She ridicules him for killing those who had nothing to do with the bullying. She adds that people will talk more about the shooting after learning he was involved. The comment appears to ignite his trauma and wake him up from the misinformation Tristan has fed him. Zoe walks outside to get Kip's gun, and she discovers Mrs. Jane escorting her students. The teacher notices the pistol and assumes Zoe is also a shooter, but she quickly explains otherwise. She assists them, but refuses to go out until she has helped the other students. Mrs. Jane also joins her before they head to the library. A rescued student informs Todd that his daughter helped them and stayed inside to assist others. The news is bittersweet for a father. Tristan soon realizes that someone is assisting the pupils in their escape. He calls Anna's number and demands to speak with the person responsible for all of this. Zoe bravely informs him that she killed Anna. Tristan requests that she come to the cafeteria 5 minutes before he begins murdering the hostages. To show her he is serious, he shoots a random girl. Todd sees this on the live broadcast and grabs his hunting rifle, deciding to save his daughter on his own. Inside, Zoe visits Kip, who is now drowning in regret. This makes it straightforward for her to convince him to switch sides. She puts all of her trust in him and delivers the gun before heading to the cafeteria. Tristan, who has seen Zoe in the corridors several times, is startled to see her creating problems for him. She confidently stands in front of him, challenging him. Just then, Kip appears in the background to defend her. Tristan laughs, certain that Kip was not decent enough to be involved in the first place. A shooting erupts, and Chris kills Kip. Chris pursues Zoe and Lewis as they seize the opportunity to flee. After running for a while, Lewis admits he was shot. Zoe brings him to an office and puts him down on a sofa before kissing him. She promises to accompany him to prom and runs outdoors to divert Chris. They find themselves in the chemistry lab, where Zoe ignites the gas, resulting in a minor explosion. Todd, who is currently in the woods behind the school, notices the flames. He snuck in to save his daughter. Chris eventually finds Zoe and prepares to kill her, but Todd shoots him seconds before. Soon after, the police find him and arrest him, but he is delighted that he has saved his daughter. Tristan contacts Chris on the phone, but Zoe answers. Her mother supports her and urges her to fight harder. Zoe sends Tristan a photo of Chris's dead body and asks him what he thinks about it. Tristan realizes his entire scheme is collapsing now that he is alone. He enters the van and detonates an explosive as a final option. During the call, Zoe informs him that all of his efforts were ineffective. He intended to convey a message to the public, but instead, they will only remember her. Tristan realizes the truth and becomes enraged. He chooses a random hostage and takes him to the rooftop, leaving the rest alone. Zoe returns to the cafeteria, where she discovers the device is only 40 seconds to detonate. She makes the hostages flee and immediately drives the van outdoors. Fortunately, the explosion that follows does not injure anyone. She then returns to the hallways, where a SWAT officer holds her down. At that point, Zoe's mother bids her farewell and departs, finally free from Zoe's heart. In the following scene, the sheriff greets Zoe and shakes her hand, complimenting her bravery. He tells her that an explosion severely burned Tristan. After a brief conversation, she heads to see her father, who has been arrested in a police car. He tells her how proud he is. An ambulance is also carrying Lewis, who is not in critical condition. However, Zoe notices a suspicious individual leaving the school. She retrieves her father's weapon and pursues the man. The individual digs up some money from the side of a creek. Zoe shoots the weapon at him, realizing that this is Tristan, who most likely faked his death in order to escape. She shoots him in the chest, then approaches him. He hasn't perished yet, like the buck at the start of the movie. But, unlike the deer, he does not deserve her mercy, and she abandons him to die a horrible death. In the final scene, she returns to the school grounds and informs the sheriff about what transpired. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.